Okay, welcome everybody. We got a bunch of people starting to trickle in. We're going to give it about 2 minutes just to let people join, and then we'll go ahead and begin. Very excited for today's topic, and we'll get started in just 2 minutes. For those of us trickling in, we're going to get started in just about a minute or so. In the meanwhile, I would love to hear from everyone. Where are you calling from? It's always fun seeing from all around the world, all the different people that we have attending. Hey, Duty, great to see you here. So just go ahead and post right in the chat where you're calling from. Okay, we got someone from Georgia, India, Somalia, like I expected, all around the world. Cool. And we'll get started in just about a minute. All right. I think we can go ahead and get started. And like I mentioned, super excited for today's topic, the future of business payments. And there are a number of reasons for why I'm so excited about today's session. First, when I started my career in Big Four accounting, I was doing a lot of travel. And because of that, I needed to manage the spend, booking hotel rooms, flights, and other incidentals. And it really was a challenging experience. It took a lot of time. It was very tedious. And that was about 10 years ago or so. Fast forward to today, after I've had the chance to work with dozens of fast-growing companies, I see the same problem exist, but there are so many different solutions and tools out there that have emerged that makes this a total breeze. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. We can go ahead and flip over to the agenda slide on our next slide. So we're going to be talking specifically about B2B payments, what you need to be aware of with the market trends, what's happening in today's day and age, the challenges that despite all of these new technologies existing still take place with finance teams and how exactly to solve those challenges. And we're going to be speaking particularly about the emergence of virtual cards. Now, if you're not using virtual cards, we think that you're going to get a lot out of the session. And if you are, we still think that you'll get a lot out of the session by what we'll be sharing with the specific nuances. We're going to then talk about American Express's virtual card offering and how much of a game changer it has been, and the seamless integration between Payhawk and American Express, who is nice enough to lead this webinar. And then we'll wrap up with a customer success story as well as a Q&A. Now, at any point, if anyone has any questions, we definitely do want to hear from you. There's a Q&A feature right on the bottom. So just go ahead and send in your questions. And then at the end, we'll get the opportunity to go through all of them. So with that being said, why don't we introduce who is on today's webinars? A lot of really impressive people. For those of you who came through my email list, or you may have seen my social media posts, you'll know that I share finance and accounting content to an audience of over 450,000 people. Every day, different topics ranging from accounting to FP&A to Excel to leadership, all designed to help you grow in your role. I also have seen firsthand the information that we're going to be talking about today, just what it can be like working with finance teams through our accounting firm, Mighty Digits. And I am joined with three really impressive panelists. Todd, I'll go ahead and pass that on to you to share a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Todd Manning. I lead strategy, M&A, and alliances for American Express commercial services business.
Thanks, Todd. And how about you, Zali?
Yeah, hi. I own a chain of assisted living facilities on the West Coast in California. And yeah, I found Payhawk to kind of solve our problem, and it's been great.
Awesome. And how about you, Aristo?
Hey, hello. My name is Christo Borisov. I'm co-founder and CEO of Payhawk, and would love to really show some of the things we are building together with American Express that could be quite interesting to our audience today.
Excellent. Well, thanks everyone. We're excited to hear from each of you in a sec. What's also great about this webinar is that we'll be offering CPE credits. So you will get a follow-up email. If you do have any questions, you can go ahead and reach out, webinars@payhawk.com. We'll make sure that you get your CPE credits after following these steps over here. And with that being said, why don't we jump in to the actual topic? Why exactly are we here? Well, as you can see over here on this slide, the B2B payment sector is expecting to grow tremendously from 83 trillion in 2024 to 124 trillion in 2028. And things really are changing very, very rapidly. And the biggest thing that I want everyone to take away from this is what got us over here is not necessarily what's going to get us over there. Things are rapidly evolving, and in order to keep up to date, in order to be efficient, in order to be reducing any likelihoods of fraud and errors, you need to be aware of the emerging technologies that is disrupting the space, specifically the emergence of virtual credit cards. So in our next slide, we could talk a little bit about what exactly we're up against right now. So as we spoke about, the B2B landscape, it's changing very quickly. Finance teams are expected to constantly be doing more with less. Now, with more, I mean handling expense reimbursements. I mean distributing authority and approvals for people to be able to spend money on various different expenditures. The ability to control who is spending money on what, and the ability to then report on all of that information. And those who are stuck just using traditional cards are really missing out on a lot of benefits that these virtual credit cards offer to modern businesses. With my experience with virtual cards specifically, I remember the very first time that I was given one, I was just blown away at how quick and seamless and easy it was to actually use, which is what we're going to be talking about specifically in today's session. So the challenge, the whole reason that we wanted to really throw this webinar is the idea that the current way of people just using physical credit cards or maybe paying via wire, the challenges with that approach is specifically point number one, the real-time transparency, the visibility into who exactly is spending what oftentimes is delayed until you get the actual statement or you have to be able to go onto an actual website and see what's happening. But the policies in place, if you want someone to have a one-time charge, to be able to purchase a specific software or a subscription from a specific vendor for up to a certain amount, if you want that to repeat itself each and every single month, it's very, very challenging doing that if it's even possible at all with a physical credit card. But with the emergence of virtual credit cards, my favorite thing, the ability to easily just create a virtual credit card, distribute that, set a specific limit, monitor who exactly is spending what, set rules, be able to get receipts automatically for approval. All of that has really sped up everything that we're seeing specifically in the space. And because of that, it's really not just about what you're spending on. It's also your ability to reconcile that data, to be able to produce a month-end close, to be able to actually report to leadership or to investors who exactly is spending what. So the shift that we're seeing with virtual credit cards is the fact that a lot of companies now are no longer just doing things the old way. They're no longer just spending money with the actual physical credit cards that may come, a few days or even a few weeks in the mail. Instead, you have the ability to instantly create a card, send it over to someone in your team, have that person spend money directly on a pre-approved budget that you get the opportunity to, in advance, set up for the person. And it's a combination of CFOs, of finance leaders, of SMBs, of enterprises. Everyone is starting to shift their process from just working with physical credit cards to also the opportunity where they get the chance now to work with these virtual ones. So I'm actually curious, why don't we set up a really quick poll of how many of us are already using virtual credit cards for their company purchases? And it looks like panelists can't vote. I would vote yes, because that's a very big thing with our business as well as the clients that I work with. And we'll just give a sec. Go ahead and vote. We'd love to hear how many of you are actually utilizing these virtual credit cards. And in a sec, we'll take a look at the results so we can see how many of us. All right, should we check the results? Over here. Okay, it looks like a healthy mix. So about 25% of us are using virtual credit cards. 20% have used it, but not at the moment, whereas more than half of the group over here has never actually used a virtual credit card. So that excites me because it's been such a game changer for my business and my clients. And it's my hope that people really feel the same coming out of today's session. So let's talk again about why exactly these virtual credit cards are such a game changer. And if you think about everything that goes into managing a company's spend, one of the most important aspects is security, having the approvals in place. You want to make sure that you're controlling who exactly is spending money on what. You don't want to have a really long, convoluted process for how exactly these approvals need to be submitted, which can just drain your resources. Ideally, you have a way to choose a specific vendor, a specific amount, whether you want that to repeat, whether you want it to be just a one-time thing. And now everyone in your company can have custom rules for what they're specifically allowed to purchase with those virtual credit cards. And that gives you not only amazing control on who's doing what, but like we spoke about, you have that visibility. So when you're creating, let's say, a budget, and you're creating a budget specifically for the sales and marketing team, well, now you can allocate part of that budget to those virtual credit cards, and you can see in real time as you're doing your board reporting, as you're doing your management reporting, how exactly are we pacing against that budget. And then finally, the efficiency is just totally unparalleled. The idea that you can create out of nothing in just a matter of seconds the ability for anyone in your company to spend money on something. A lot of times what we do in our company, if it's less than $100, we don't really care what you're spending the money on, just you don't even need the approval, we'll set it up for you by default. And that's what we're seeing a lot of these companies do. They're having these different rules that they could instantly turn on and turn off with their virtual credit cards that make things a breeze. So we're going to flip it over in just a second to Todd, who's going to tell us a bit on how this works with American Express's offerings. I'm really curious, though, before we pass it over to Todd, how many of us are already American Express customers? So just go ahead and complete that poll. And we'll just give a second for us to all vote again. And then I'm excited to pass it over to Todd to share how American Express makes this all a breeze. All right, should we see what the results are? Okay, looks like a fairly even split for the most part. Very cool. Well, Todd, with that being said, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you very much, and also some opportunity potentially for some new customers in that 43%. So excited to be here. First, I wanted to give a little bit of an overview of what we're seeing in the industry right now. Businesses are using a wide variety of different software platforms to run their business, and increasingly expecting those solutions to include integrated, intuitive financial tools. There's a consumerization of the commercial payments experience that we're experiencing as well, where these embedded solutions give a lot of convenience, control, and efficiency in processes. What we're trying to do is embrace this shift and partnering with leading fintechs to meet our business customers where they are already doing business. So the goal here is really customer choice and giving more flexibility in how payments and expenses are managed. This strategy led us to launch Amex Sync, which is a program designed to embed Amex commercial payments directly into platforms that our customers are using the most. One of our key partners in this program is Payhawk, which is a widely used expense management platform among our customers. And we were recognizing the need to deliver a more seamless and secure payment experience. Payhawk joined the sync program in April 2024. And with this integration, mutual customers can now generate Amex virtual cards directly within Payhawk, so without needing to leave that experience, and giving them enhanced control, security, and faster reconciliation. The integration itself really streamlines a lot of key processes. So we're looking at real-time expense categorization and virtual card issuance. So you have that visibility into where the payments are going with the ability to actually categorize on your own, and really increase the ability and flexibility to do seamless reconciliations. This also improves workflows, and teams can spend a lot less time on monthly reporting and get really focused on what they do to drive their business growth. I'd say in general that the Payhawk experience has been a good one for customers, and you're going to hear a lot more about that as we move further on here. But we want to talk also about how virtual cards can generally drive efficiency, security, and cost savings. And I'm hoping that everyone leaves this conversation today with a much clearer understanding of how virtual cards can become an important part of your card program, and bring a lot of benefits to your organization. So maybe we can move on to the next slide. So a couple of the key features that we have is that you're able to approve, modify, or cancel virtual cards at any time. So if you have a card that's with a specific vendor, you can apply different controls to how much spend can take place on that card. You also have the flexibility to be able to embed a card that isn't your core card number at a vendor. So it gives you that enhanced security and control. And if you look at the actual control that you have on each on-demand virtual card, you can say the duration that you want that card active, whether it's a single or multiple use. You can create budgets for projects and actually link that budget name with the virtual card that's embedded there, and also automate reimbursements. So thinking about on-demand virtual cards for one-time or recurring expenses like meals, travel, and office supplies. So it gives you a lot of flexibility using your existing card program through this virtual card application. And when I mentioned the virtual card number, it gives you that actual added security of not having your core card account number with 20 or 30 different vendors. You can have that virtual card number embedded with those protections in place for each transaction to give you additional security and, like I said, reconciliation.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Todd, for summarizing a lot of the capabilities that we have been able to build jointly with the American Express on top of the Payhawk platform. But some of the benefits that we have been able to bring in within the system, and you're going to be able to see this in a second, is first of all, improved control and visibility. And this is something that we really see with finance people, that one of the most important things on why they're purchasing a spend management platform like Payhawk is to be able to be in control. And to be able to actually understand what's happening in real time in the system, to be able to put the right rules, and to be able to trust their employees with a lot more cars that they're usually used to. Of course, that gives a lot of enhanced security so that you have a lot more specific granularity on where the cards and how these cards can be used, which can be configured in the system in the form of different policies, so that you can build one set of policies for employees, for managers, for executives, depending on the frequency in their travel and their spending behavior. Of course, one of the big benefits of a spend management system is the real-time reconciliation. So every single expense goes directly with the specific transaction. So there is no need of matching, of going through card statements and trying to really understand what this kind of spend was, usually 40, 50 days after that spend has occurred, or to go and chase those employees. This is actually happening in real time within the platform, with all the benefits of automated data extraction, so that whenever an employee makes an expense, it receives a notification to upload the expense. This expense is matched with the transaction. All the data from the expense are automatically categorized, extracted, so that you know exactly for what kind of suppliers, categories, and all the other dimensions that your, let's say, financial ERP system might be requiring. And all of this information is directly synchronized to one of the major ERPs that are out there, like SAP, Oracle NetSuite, Microsoft Dynamics, Sage, Xero, QuickBooks, and so on. Of course, this gives you much better cash flow management. You have a lot more visibility around your budgets and how you're able to really trend. You have really good flexibility across different use cases, so that you can actually build budgets for different projects or vendors or employees for different spending categories. And you can track this in real time without, for waiting for like months to reconcile all the data and to really understand what actually happened on the spend. So we have one so to say button to issue a card, which is that easy, and I'm going to be able to demo this in a second. So what are the common use cases that we see and whether they're used? Of course, one of the main cases is to control suppliers. So you can issue different specific cards for different specific suppliers. And you can say, hey, this is a card that's for this specific supplier, set a budget for this supplier, and make sure that this is only used for that. Ad campaigns, this is a place where you might need to generate more cards to be able to control your ads. Employee expenses, and obviously now with the advent of Apple Pay and Google Pay, you're actually able to instantly move these virtual cards within your device and be able to use this with normal POS terminals and make actually purchases with not only for online payments but also for physical stores. You can manage subscription management, obviously travel expenses and contractor expenses are all things that are very common for companies to be able to issue specific cards for that purpose. So actually the easiest way to show you how this works and how the American Express and Payhawk integration works is to actually show you a quick demo. So I'm going to be able to request a quick signature. So you should be able to see my screen now. I'll give it a second to load. So first of all, before we start, this is our multi-entity dashboard. So if you have multiple companies, multiple entities overseas, so let's say a UK company, French company, US company, you are able to really bring all of those things into a single platform. So for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to go to our US entity called Payhawk Inc. One of the first things you see in the platform is the ability to manage different purchases, expenses, cards, budgets, and so on. I'm going to go to the cards where we have really built our integration on a much better level. So when you go and click on the linked cards, you have the ability to go and just connect an existing card. So here you have all the major networks supported. And when you click on an American Express card, you're able to go and link your physical card. So once this card is linked, you're able to actually go and out of these cards issue new virtual cards just by clicking this button. Here I can say I would like to issue a card to Christo, and I can or let's say Scott. I can issue to Scott. I can name this card. Let's say I would like this for ad spend, or let's say for travel and entertainment. And here you can have a standalone budget for this person. You can say, hey, on this card, we're going to allow monthly, weekly, one-time budget. You want to increase the limit to, or have a recurring budget, or you can simply say, I would like this to be part of a company spending policy where I have already pre-configured what is allowed. So for example, employee spend policy can only spend, let's say, up to $1,000 a month. If they want to have more funds or to have their limit increase, they have to go through an internal approval workflow. You have an ability to do online payments, specific countries, day and time, and so on and so forth. So once you issue the card, you have the ability to actually manage this card here. So you can change the limits, you can change the amounts of the card. So here I can just say, I would like this card to have, let's say, maybe I'll just put here, 500. So now we increase the limit of this card. This is instantly available. So the employees can really go and spend money now. You can change this at any point in time. You can change this through a request and approval flow so that you can follow a specific policy of the company when it comes to spend. We can go and see actually the expenses made with that card, and this is the power of our spend management system. As soon as you make an expense with Payhawk, in real time you have actually the information about the expense itself. So here you have the actual transactional information where this expense occurred, what was the rates, currencies, stores that are being paid. Once the employee uploads the expense, we are automatically getting and extracting all the information from this expense. So you have instantly the expense and the transaction reconciled. If I click here, we can actually see the invoice number and some of the other information fully extracted. So this, indication here tells us that this was automatically filled by our AI by looking at this information and so on and so forth. So of course, here you can run a normal approval flow, review flow by the finance team so that the finance team can go and check those expenses and make sure that all of this information is ready. Once they review the expense, this is fully reconciled directly into the ERP system of the company. And the final thing that I want to show is that you can actually go and set up budgets. So once you set up your budgets, you can go and configure different types of categories by just uploading a forecast in an Excel file. So you can just say, hey, here are my dimensions, here are my projects, vendors, subscriptions, or whatever you want to be tracking in an Excel file. And once you upload your forecast, you have the ability here to change versus multiple forecasts. And we actually show you in real time, hey, this is how you're actually utilizing your budgets versus what was agreed within your specific forecast. So you can actually see the specific categories. You can see the specific employees that make the spend. You can see the specific suppliers that made the purchases and all the analytics that you need to really understand what is going on with your cards. And all of that is also available with our pack of AI Office of the CFO, which is a new set of agents that we're bringing here. So one of the most tedious things for, once you have this integration is to actually chase these expenses and these receipts. And this is where we're building our AI Office of the CFO, where we're actually having automated agents in Teams and Slack that are actually chasing employees in the specific systems to remind them to submit their expenses and to facilitate them to do this upload. And using these cards, they can actually facilitate them to do travel, procurement, and many other specific things that we have set up as purchases. And of course, none of that would have been possible if we didn't have really that smooth integration with American Express and the ability to issue these cards with a single click so that we have the ability to manage those flows and not just the software part, the approval flow, but actually the payments itself in a single system. So that is our demo, and now I'm going to pass it to Zoli and the team.
Hi guys. So yeah, the Heathrow went through the demo, and for us as a company, that's has worked out perfectly. Being able to disperse virtual cards to our employees and have them spend on it, and then be able to get a notification that they can upload their receipt and expense it has served our company, huge, because we have employees all over our county. We have them, some not shopping for our company, some do, and those changes happen, daily. And so we're able to disperse cards or remove them, increase limits, decrease limits, block out vendors if we don't have the time to communicate with them. We can just block out a vendor so they're not spending. But that has been huge for us, and especially with the virtual card specifically, when they spend it notifies the spender immediately to upload a receipt. So following up on expenses that aren't being submitted or approved has cut down the time immensely. Our controller and bookkeepers aren't chasing employees for a month to upload those expenses. And those have been kind of the biggest solutions for our company specifically.
All right. Well, next steps over here for those who are interested in learning more about how Payhawk and American Express can help you with your virtual credit cards. You can go ahead and scan that QR code and you can get a personal demo directly from Payhawk. And I appreciate all the work that went into preparing all this information. So thank you to everyone for that. We're now going to open up the floor to any Q&A that we have. So there's a Q&A feature, as you can see right here. Just go ahead and publish your questions there. We'll give a second for anyone who wants to put the questions through there, and then we'll get to each of them. All right, so we got our first question. Can the tool be used as a T&E tool, which can automate notifications to employees for filing expense and submitting reporting? Or if you can explain the way invoices arrive within the system. Risto, would you like to take that one?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's exactly what's the primary use of the system. Whenever an employee makes an expense, it is in real time notified on their mobile app that they would like to, they have to take a picture of the expense itself. It's an online subscription. They have to upload the expense. We are supporting this to happen in mobile app, in the portal. And now, as I said, with the AI Office of the CFO, we're unveiling the ability to do that directly in Slack and Teams. So all of this chasing is actually happening by the system. If it's, of course, you will have about the majority of the expenses happening in a physical place where they actually end up with a physical receipt. This is where the employees just take a picture. We also have policies that we can configure under a specific amount. You might not require a receipt depending on your jurisdiction. This is something that we support as Payhawk is available in more than 32 countries today. Once you have the expense uploaded, we do the data extraction of the expense. If you need to have an invoice, which is a PDF format, you can still send it to the portal, to the mobile app, or to the Slack and Teams, and it's automatically classified as a normal expense there. The important thing is that if the employees fail to submit their expenses, there are multiple measures you can take. First of all, what we call Payhawk auto blocking. You can actually set policies and say, hey, if employees are late with more than 3 or 4 expenses, you can actually block their card temporarily to ensure that they're playing by the rules and they're actually using the system the right way, so that if they're not submitting their expenses, they're not able to use a card, which is one of the tools you can do. Of course, before the month end, there is more chasing happening by the system. So there are reminders that are being sent by the systems. There is the financial controller agent is chasing you on Slack and Teams, making sure that you have to submit your expense reports and supporting you in the process to do that. So that's kind of the high level capability today.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Haristo. I do have one more quick question for you before we go over a question for Todd, and that is with where exactly Payhawk's offering is available. We have Joel, who's asking if it is available in Canada, and then Talitha, who's asking if it's available in South Africa.
Perfect. Yes. So first of all, Payhawk currently is available across all of Europe, US, and Canada. It really depends on the networks you can connect to it. It depends on the countries and the geographies. So we'll be happy to speak to companies based in Canada. We do have customers based there, and we do have support for Canada. But of course, it really depends on the network in which you are, whether you are with American Express or other networks, so that we can look at the specific case.
Awesome. And
outside of US, Canada, and Europe, we are currently do not have a general availability support. This is something that we are currently working on our roadmap, and we expect to be able to roll out more countries throughout the next several months.
Nice. Yeah, that's a huge benefit. A lot of companies that I work with, they have offices outside of the US, and a lot of other providers only integrate with the US. So that international support is a great benefit. Here's a question for you, Todd. So what exactly are the benefits of using American Express virtual cards within Payhawk? And what are those advantages over traditional cards or bank transfers?
So I'd say there are a number of different benefits. We covered some of them already. First, the added security of having a token rather than your actual card number embedded within the supplier. So there's a degree of security that you're granted there. The control and visibility is we just went through in the Payhawk demo. We're able to set limits. You're able to set a duration that the card is available for, restrict based on geography. There are a whole bunch of controls that you got to put in place prior to the card being used. The reconciliation benefits, I think, are also something that stand out, especially when you have someone who does project-based work. So if you have a virtual card that's associated with a certain, let's say you're working in construction, a certain construction project, being able to identify that as a certain address, or if you're, a law firm, being able to actually assign a case number, reconciliation is just vastly improved through a virtual card. In general, I'd say cash flow management is something that we also see, being able to ensure that you're sticking to your budget, but then also looking at how you can continue to have your employees use virtual cards in place of their personal cards, to put more of those rewards and incentives back into your business. Quite often, if you have a worker who is temporary, or you don't have a full-time corporate or small business card with that employee, they're using their own, and you're actually missing out on the incentives that can be fed back to help your business to grow. So this is a way that you can help to bring that spend back within control, but then also driving additional rewards for your business. Whether you're a cashback or a membership rewards customer, you want to try to capture as much of that as possible within your card program. And then finally, thinking about mobile wallet integration. So your ability to have a flexible way to get those cards into your employees or your contractors' hands is really something that's driving a lot of growth here. The simplicity of the interface. You don't have to actually get a full-time corporate card or small business card out to an individual. You can use this flexibly to help to deploy spending capabilities to your employee base or partner base in a way that again, is very controlled. And again, you have this ability to have seamless reconciliation of all the transactions that are going through. So I'd say overall, it simplifies, but it also broadens the reach of a card program to more of your employees.
Nice. We have a good question from JJ. I just want to add to what you mentioned, though, Todd. I've seen firsthand a lot of companies, their employees want to take advantage of all of those points that they get, so they put it all in their personal card. For all the accountants in the room, that becomes a total nightmare. You got to collect all the receipts, you got to go through, you got to reconcile all of that. So the ability to get those same benefits and it goes through the actual company is a huge game changer. As is the fact that, look, people love using Amex and a lot of other virtual card companies. It's either you're using their card or you're using a separate platform. So the ability that you could actually get the benefit of both, I think, is just a huge game changer that's very unique here. So let's go to JJ's question over here. Can technologies like APIs accelerate the adoption of virtual cards? What's hampering the progress? Harissa, would you be best for that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we do see definitely, a lot of customers that are using our APIs. So we do support full APIs on top of the Payhawk platform, and we have a lot of automations that our customers are building to support such kind of specific use cases. This is definitely helping the ability to actually issue a lot more cards for specific purpose or specific needs, so that sometimes you can just generate one-time cards if needed, or you can just go and generate specific cards for specific use cases that are much harder to achieve with a conventional user interface, and you would like to have an automation. What's even further accelerating that growth, I would say, is that there is a really big premise with the agentic flow that's coming in. We do see a lot more agents right now requiring the need to actually do that. And we're one of the first companies that have been introducing a very full integrated flow of how you're able to go and request something to be purchased by the company and end up with either a topped up amount of your existing card or a new card specifically going to be used for a specific case. So for example, let's say you decide that you're not going to be handing over many cards. You would like to keep the control flow and you want everything to be based on a specific request. What we're able to do, within this year is you can go to Payhawk and you can say, hey, I would like to go and request a specific trip, let's say from New York to Chicago, and I would like to stay in a hotel. And then based on the company spend policy, we are able to go and say, hey, here is the hotel, here is the flight that's convenient and approved by the company spend policy. Select your flight, select your hotel, and then we are going to be able to generate the card and make the booking on your behalf directly without you having to go to that. Or we can just give you the card details securely on your phone, where you can go and make the purchase depending on the specific preferences and the policies in the company. All of those use cases end up with generating, a specific case for a specific card for a specific case that is further accelerating the adoption of virtual cards.
And that is so cool. I'm both excited as well as a little bit overwhelmed for when these AI agents are around, and instead of me needing to spend hours doing tedious work of researching, just clicking a button and an agent actually goes out to do it for me. That sounds like a really exciting feature I'm looking forward to. Here's another question for you, Todd. So I'm curious, what are the stats? How widely adopted are these virtual credit cards, and which use cases are you seeing the fastest adoption with?
So I'd say, there's a lot of research that's going into this, but about 55% of our customers have used virtual cards for their business, mostly larger businesses, but we're starting to make more headway moving into mid and smaller size companies. The use cases I think are pretty clear. We talked about some of the project-based use cases. So if we have a very distinct project that you want to make sure the spend associated with, about a quarter of the customers that use it are benefiting from that ability to reconcile against a specific project. But we're seeing a lot of use with, frankly, recurring spend for things like online ad spending or subscriptions. That's almost 40% of the use cases that we're seeing today. So again, thinking about having an embedded virtual card at a vendor with limits and with targeted spend, that's been a pretty quick case for adoption here. And then the other case, business travel is one, and that's about 20% of the uses that we're seeing. Again, if you're thinking about someone that's coming out for an interview where you want to fund their travel, or if you have someone who's not a regular traveler that doesn't have a corporate card, you can issue a virtual card to enable that employee to get out there and visit your clients. So the use cases are fairly varied, and I'd say they're split, but we're continuing to see this ramp of adoption as people are recognizing the benefit and simplicity of using a virtual card along with your core card program to improve that ability to reconcile, and then just enjoying the flexibility of capturing more of your spend through a simple interface.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. We have a question from an anonymous attendee. Which ERPs do we have the SPIs for direct integration? Dynamics 365, SAP, etc. Would that be for you, Hristo?
Yeah, I would be happy to answer that. So we do have currently direct. So first of all, we have direct integrations to the majority of the systems. So we support Microsoft Dynamics, Finance and Operations, and Microsoft Dynamics 365. We do support Sage. We do support QuickBooks. We do support Xero, Datev. We're working on SAP right now. We have a lot of customers connected directly to SAP. And we also do have specific templates and APIs that allow you to build a specific export to more than 200 other systems with templates. So you can even go and customize the template. So if you're using a specific, for let's say your industry, a specific ERP, we're able to really build that kind of an export that allows you to export all the information that you saw in the demo before, the transaction, the expense, all the categories and everything classified, so that you can just upload it to your system. We do support API integrations. We do support FTP integrations. So all the options that are usually possible, we have that supported with more than close to 5,000 customers right now.
Very cool. Awesome. And JJ has a follow-up question on that in terms of the ERPs that this can be integrated with right now.
Yeah.
It sounds like there are already a bunch.
Exactly. And I think I missed Oracle NetSuite as another one that's quite big that we fully directly support. We're part of their SSDN network and partnership channel.
So Oracle NetSuite, you mentioned QuickBooks, Microsoft Dynamics, another one that we also have.
They have two versions, Finance and Operations and 365. There are two specific versions there, Sage, Xero, QuickBooks, Datev, and so.
Pretty much all the major ERPs out there. Cool. And again, just for all the accountants in the room, I still see accountants sometimes going to the actual bank, downloading the transactions, going to the ERP, uploading the transactions manually. When you have that sync, it really is just such a game changer and saves a lot of time. JJ has another question over here about APIs. Do APIs help with the implementation of the virtual cards and any issues to identify for consideration, as well as a cost benefit analysis?
Well, I think I did cover the majority of that answer with the use cases I mentioned. Yes, they definitely help with the ability to actually implement the virtual cards faster and have them. But of course, this needs to be commanded by the specific use case. There are many cases, like the majority of the cases that we see, 95+%, they are solved within the software itself, where either you set up an automated workflow where you can say, hey, I would like to automatically issue a virtual card if the request by the employee is, let's say, requesting a card and with a limit of or specific amount to purchase less than 1,000. You can automatically set this in the system and this can be automatically issued, or you can go and configure more complicated approval workflow. Or you might disable that. You might just decide that, hey, I'm the only one that's going to be able to issue the cards, and you can go and manually issue them one by one. Of course, APIs can help here, but they need to be for a very specific case that you're going to solve.
Cool. Thanks for that, Risto, and thanks for all your great questions, JJ. Here's another question for you, Todd. Looking into the future, we already see how much the industry has changed. The emergence of virtual cards have really been ramped. What do you see as the next 2 to 3 years and how exactly things will evolve? And are there any barriers that come into play?
So I think you covered on an earlier page that we're seeing this market grow pretty dramatically over the next few years. I think the number got to around 175 billion in volume that we see going through virtual cards by 2028. The adoption is sticky. So when we see someone move to virtual cards because they recognize the amount of control and ease of reconciliation that you get with them, they are seeing the value. I think the first barrier is really around education and awareness. I don't think that a lot of companies are aware that they have virtual cards as a potential option with their core card program. So unless they're made aware, they don't know that these other options exist that can make their lives easier and actually broaden the reach of their card program. So one of the things that we're focusing on here is creating materials to help our customers better understand some of the applications for virtual cards and make sure that they're aware that it's embedded as part of the core relationship that we have. So I think as we broaden that education, we see more customer adoption, and the use cases are pretty clear based on Zoli's use that he mentioned earlier. It does actually help companies to get better control over their spend and use their card program more effectively. So that education is just really important for us, and we're at a critical juncture now. The other potential roadblock is just thinking about how we make the process easier for suppliers. So we want to make sure that they're valuing the ability to get a payment faster, that they're getting more data along with their payment, and easing their reconciliation. So we're working with a number of different partners on that side of the house as well to make sure that as suppliers see virtual cards coming in, they're realizing the benefit as well. And so there's some work to do to make sure that all participants in the ecosystem can see the benefit of moving to virtual cards as a part of the overall spend management and spend control solution. And those two elements, I'd say, are front of mind for us, just making sure that we have that awareness on the buyer side and that we're creating value on the supplier side too.
Makes sense. Thanks for sharing that, Todd. Are there any other questions before we wrap up? We're going to wrap up in just about 2 or 3 minutes. If there's anything else that anyone wants to ask, you can go ahead and put that in the Q&A. And in the meanwhile, I think we could go ahead and wrap things up with today's session. Really appreciate both American Express and Payhawk, as well as Rosecare Group, coming out and sharing all the information about where we are right now, where things are going with the emergence of virtual credit cards. It's a very exciting space. Probably one of my favorite enhancements to the CFO tech stack, just the ability to have these virtual credit cards. So thanks so much for everyone for joining, for everyone's attendance, and there are no other questions, we'll see you guys all at the next one. Take care, everyone.
Great. Thank you.